Hi guys, welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome to Nickey's kitchen. In today's video we are making a matoke or green banana curry, and I like to add potatoes to my green bananas. So I'm starting off by boiling 4 potatoes that I've cut into cubes on the back burner, and on the front burner I'm going to place my matoke, add enough water to cover the matoke, and bring this to a boil. We want to parboil both the matoke and the potatoes, and after about 30 minutes this is what you end up with. A knife can easily pass through the matoke, but they're not fully cooked because we'll finish them off in the curry. So I'm going to remove my matoke carefully from the water using a skimmer, making sure none of them fall back into the hot water, which would splash and end up burning me. I'm placing the matoke on a large flat surface and putting them in a single file so that they can easily cool, because they're too hot to touch right now. And after they've cooled is when I'll peel them, and you'll see just how easy it is to peel matoke after boiling them as opposed to before boiling. I've moved my potatoes to the front burner, and these are about to finish cooking. So here I am placing my matoke on a single file, moving them around, and I'll leave them like this so that they can cool. My potatoes are parboiled to the point where I can easily cut through them with a knife. I'll drain off the water and leave both of these to cool while I work on my vegetables. I have onions, bell pepper, garlic, ginger, tomatoes, and dhania or cilantro, one bunch. I'm starting off by slicing my onions. I prefer to slice my onions because it takes less time, and the less time it takes means that I only have to cry for a few minutes. I'm using white onions, but you can use red onions or whichever onions you have on hand. I'm simply using white because that's what I had. So I'll slice this, set them aside, and then I'll get started on my dhania. I'm going to separate my dhania leaves from the stems, and I'll be adding the leaves into my saucepan at the very end of the cooking, but I'll cut the stems up and add them in together with the onions. This helps build the flavor profile of the dish that we're making. So I'll go ahead and pluck the leaves off the stems, set them aside, and cut the stems and set them aside together with the onions. Onto the bell pepper. I'm using a red one, but whichever color you have will work just fine. I'm going to dice this, and I'm starting off by cutting it into strips. Then I'll turn the strips horizontally and dice them. Onto the ginger. I'm going to peel this using the side of a spoon to scrape the skin down, and the skin comes off really easily when you do it like this. I'm now going to whack both my ginger and garlic to flatten them using the side of my knife. Then I'll go in with a blade and mince them into really fine pieces, and you can use your mortar and pestle for this. but I didn't use mine, and today it's not because I didn't want to have more dishes to wash, but the mortar actually broke in half, so I currently do not have one. I'm holding the tip of my knife down with one hand and sliding the rest of the blade across the garlic to get finely minced garlic and ginger like this. And I'll set this aside. I'll then get started on the tomatoes. I'm using 4 for this. I'm going to cut the tip off, then dice my tomatoes. So here is everyone all prepped and ready to go. And by this point, my matoke is fully cool to the touch. I can now peel it and not burn myself. And as you can see, the peels come right off as if I was peeling a regular banana, the fruit kind of banana. And another advantage of boiling your matoke prior to peeling is that your hands don't get stuck with that sticky residue that comes off from matoke when you try to peel it prior to boiling. So I'll go ahead and peel all of this, and then I'll cut them down to approximately the same size as the potatoes, because as you remember, we only parboiled this, we didn't boil them completely, and they'll still need to cook down together with the curry. So we want the matoke and the potatoes to take the same exact time to cook down in the curry. Now that all the prep work is done, it's time to get started on the curry. I have some oil in my saucepan, and I'm going to start off by toasting my spices. I've gone in with paprika, garam masala, cumin, and black pepper. And as always, I have the exact measurements in the description box. And one thing to note here is you want to do this over really low heat, the lowest that your burner can go, so that you don't end up burning the spices. I'll toast this for about a minute, then I'll go in with my onion and dhania stems. I'll coat the onions and dhania stems with the oil and spices mixture, making sure that everything is well combined so that the onions cook down with this amazing flavor infused into them. I'll add a pinch of salt to help the onions cook down. Stir this, then cover until the onions cook while stopping to stir occasionally, so that the onions don't stick to the bottom of the saucepan and end up burning. Once the onions have softened, I'm now going to go in with my ginger and garlic mixture. I'll stir this until the garlic and ginger become fragrant for about a minute. And let me tell you guys, the aroma in my kitchen at this point, oh my goodness, Everything smells so good. The blend of the ginger, garlic, the spices, the dhania stems. We are building so much flavor right now. I'll now add in the tomatoes. I'll stir them into the other ingredients until they are well combined. Then I'll add a pinch of salt to help the tomatoes cook down. And as you guys remember, you always want to salt your tomatoes, and this just helps in building of the flavor profile. I'll cover this, then I'll let the tomatoes cook down until they're nice and mushy. In my hand is a bouillon cube, and I'm using the Knorr chili beef one, but they come in so many flavors, so use whichever one appeals to your taste. I've added it to a jug and I'm adding a liter of hot water. I'll stir in the cube, and this is what I'll be using as the liquid for my curry. This is really easy and convenient. You can literally make broth in a minute. So I'll check on the tomatoes, and at this point they have cooked down, but they are sticking to the bottom of my pan. So instead of adding more oil, I'll add a little bit of the broth that we've just made, and this will help deglaze the pan. So I'll just add a splash. I'll scrape the cast off the bottom, and if you guys didn't know, that cast that forms down there has so much flavor. And I'm not talking about what happens when your food burns. I'm talking about the cast that forms while the food is cooking, not when it's burnt. My tomatoes are now soft and malleable, and it's now safe to add in my matoke. So I'll pour the matoke that I cut down in there. I'll stir it and make sure it's well combined with what's in the saucepan, so that you can transfer that flavor, all of that goodness, onto the matoke. I'll stir this in, making sure each piece is nice and well coated. Next, I'll add in my potatoes, and I'll do the same thing that I did with the matoke. Stir this in until the potatoes are combined with the plethora of flavors that we've been building up. And I know it looks like I'm fighting with a wooden spoon, but that's because I chose a saucepan that was a bit too small. It didn't have that much surface area, so I kind of had to struggle with stirring the ingredients in and making sure they didn't spill out of the saucepan, but in the end all worked out. So I'm now adding my broth, the one that we just made using the bouillon cube. I'm also going in with some salt, and a point to note is that I used 1 liter of water stirred into the bouillon cube. But as time goes by, the liquid will thicken then reduce because the matoke and potatoes really absorb a lot of water. So feel free to adjust the liquid as you please and go for whatever consistency you prefer. But I only ended up using the 1 liter. I let this guys simmer for about 5 minutes, and as you can see, the sauce has already thickened without me having to add any thickener to it. I'm now going to add in my bell peppers, stir this in, then I'll let them simmer for about another 5 minutes. And I think the bell pepper adds a nice pop of color. I like seeing the bits of red in there. After simmering, this is what I have. The sauce has thickened and it's making me really happy. I'm now going to add in my dhania leaves, which I went ahead to cut down a bit. I'll stir these guys in, then I'll turn the heat off, and it's going to be time to plate and devour into this awesome goodness. Would you look at how beautiful and comforting and hearty this curry looks? And it's perfect especially for this cold weather. And with that said, guys, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.